So you can see that this is on top of our main card here. We'll change that later, but at least we can see that this is working, and we can see a few of these items there. We will change all of that later dynamically anyway. So for now, we just want to make sure that things are actually showing there. All right, so next, what I'm going to do here, right outside of our scroll view, so scroll view is right here. So right here, I'm going to just say end scroll view. Below there, I'm going to put another V stack. This one here is going to have text. So it's going to be below there. I'm going to make sure that the alignment here is actually going to be leading, because I want it to be from left to right. So anything else should be secondary. We don't need that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a text field here. This text is just going to say something like caramel cream frappuccino, as such. And then font weight, I want this to be heavy. And then font title, and then font, I just want this to be title, so not too big. I'm going to have a foreground here, color. Let's use our color palettes that we created, and I want this to be dark green. Okay, and then I'm going to give it a frame. That way we can put everything in a place. All right, so let's go and give it a run just to see where things are situated. Make sure. Okay, it's over there. But here's the problem. You can see now that we have this truncation that's happening here. So what happens is that because this line is too long, it is truncating itself there. So how do we then make it, because we want it to look like this, right? So it cuts off there and finished on the second line. Well, there's a few tricks that we can do for situations such as these. First of all, we are going to put that on a frame so that we have control how big of the frame in which we'll have this text. So instead of doing what we usually do and to add the widths and heights and so forth, what we're going to do here, we're going to do a little trick that will extend the space that we need independent of the surrounding views. So what we do here is that we put a min width like this. We're going to put 0, and then of course max height. In this case here, I'm going to just say dot infinity. So we're telling the system that you decide what max height is going to be needed for this text there, right? And I'm going to pass also alignment here to be leading, because I want it to be to the left, leading within our frame. All right, and then I have to add here line limit to nil. Okay, so we pass nothing there to let the system decide for itself. All right, so once we have that, to actually make this, we need to go outside of VStack, right? And I'm going to add a padding. In this padding, I'm going to add a few other things here. So the first thing, I'm going to actually pass the edge insets, because I want to go ahead and padding this whole thing around so that it's actually the way it's supposed to be, which means it looks like this. So I'm going to pass a few things here. So the top, look at that. We have a few options there to pass. Okay. So for the top, I'm going to just give it 0. For the leading, let's give about 10. For bottom, it's also going to be 0. And for trailing, it's going to be 10. So this will help us confine everything so that our text hopefully looks exactly what we want. And you can see right away, it now goes ahead and confines itself there. It cuts off whatever it's to the right, no truncation anymore, and goes back to down here, the Frappuccino. So it looks better, it looks really nice and confined, just like what we have here. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to click outside again. This is going to be inside of our H stack, I believe. Let's see. This is scroll view. This is our main V stack. So this whole stack that we added, our scroll view and this. So right down there, I'm going to give a frame. Okay. I'm going to give it a width of about 240. I'm going to give a padding of trailing like this, it's going to be about 50. So I want to make sure that all of this content that is inside here, because remember we have a vertical stack there, I want to have a width, total width of 240, and the trailing padding, so the right padding, so give it a little bit padding to the left, it's going to be about 50. Let's see what's that going to do. Going to move everything to the left, hopefully. And now you see something changed as well. What changed is the fact that before, because our width of our frame, this entire frame that we have our V-stack, all of this, it didn't have a width. That's why it was bleeding out to the right, and then we saw this bleeding out as well. So as you can see, we fixed that problem where we felt like this was bleeding out of our main card. So now it looks more natural, as you can see there. Okay, just like this. Okay, there we go. Making good progress here, folks. So if this is the end of scroll view, let's go down there. So this is scroll view. Then we have a V-stack we just worked on. And now we're going to go outside to our H-stack, which will contain all of these items there. So what do we need to do then is just add another trailing padding there. And I'm going to say dot trailing and give about 3. This is just me being picky here. Some of these things probably are not 100% necessary, but just trying to adjust things around. You'll notice that when you design things, that's pretty much what you're always going to be doing. So we gave another padding to the right trailing there. So it's very minimal. You can't quite see, but believe me, it makes a difference right now because it wasn't right there as we scroll like that. Okay, so much better. Small things, but nonetheless, they actually help our user interface. So I know a little bit, this may be a little bit confusing because there's so much going on that we're doing here. This is really how you go about designing something actually stunning, right? You try things, you put things together, and try to figure out how to position things around. So the first thing before you design is to think about the structure of your user interface and how things are laid out and go from there. Okay, so that's what we're doing here, slowly but surely.